Hi there. So, as many of you might know, as many of you might not know or be aware of, in awareness itself and consciousness itself, is that there has been for quite a long time, pretty much forever, throughout many different cycles of the planets of humanity on Earth. Well, for quite a while, I'd say. It's not like always. But for many different cycles of humanity that has been here on the planet, I feel at least 3 or so, maybe 4, probably 4, where there has been actual spiritual wars going on. Like multi-dimensional timeline, literal like temporal time wars going on for a long time. Many thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. And within that, right now, we're also experiencing a bit of that is rampant throughout the collective, throughout the Earth, throughout the galaxy, throughout the dimensions. And this is one reason why we see the world in such disarray and chaos as it is nowadays. Why people seem to be so up and down in different like levels of consciousness or awareness, just like there's just consciousness and awareness and just like living embodiment of their true selves and all that. Why there's so much up and down and just different differences of that going on right now, because there's so many timelines of the collective and of us as individuals that are, especially in these times now of great shift and transition for the collective consciousness, and for the collective earth and galactic and universal consciousness at this time, excuse me, that is resulting in all these different like experiences of life being experiences, all these different timelines and all these different like aspects of our consciousness and selves throughout different time, space, dimension being experienced in our individual lives and then collectively, causing so much disarray. In that, this is an incredible period of transformation potential of like self-mastery and collective unification, collective mastery, collective unification, individual unification potential of like enlightenment and growth potential, essentially. This is a great time of healing and upliftment and growth and maturity and development of consciousness and like activation and awakening and awareness of ourselves as divine beings of light, as in our truer multidimensional whole scope of spirit and of soul, whole scope of our soul, of ourselves throughout many lifetimes and parallel realities and parallel reality worlds together. This is a time of awakening to be remember that. And the reason I mention that is because within this spiritual war and with this temporal timeline time war that has been going on very knowingly throughout the world, behind the scenes in governments and militaries and various levels of those for a long time, and being quite involved with those, and many people may not be aware of how much of like advanced technologies we actually do have, we do wield as a world already. Anything you can imagine that's like highly advanced science fiction seeming, or that you've seen in science fiction and books and movies and shows and everything, is actually real, associated with real reality and what we're capable of in many ways, advanced technologically wise, such as time travel, such as timeline travel and switching, parallel reality switching, and like actually using technologies and that can help enhance the human consciousness itself, because our consciousness is like so incredibly vast, powerful, strong, and like us as humans in this world, we have a very strong connection with Source, with the universal intelligence, with Source, like very, very easily, readily so. And so that is like something, so because of that, we're able to access a lot consciously, almost infinitely. And like ascend our biological nature, our physical and energetic bodies, biological nature, our DNA and our cells can activate to levels that are able to enhance and hold greater amounts of light within the nervous system of the body, within the energy body, and bring us more as active, online, conscious, aware participants as creators that we always are anyway, but even more like participatory and like active and alive as conscious creators of universal creation, of shared collective co-creative universal intelligence with many forms of life, many beings throughout the cosmos, throughout the galaxies, throughout the universes and the multiverse, throughout the dimensions as well. We're always doing that anyway, but we're in this like time right now in the collective where there's a lot of growth and up leveling and like a shifting of that occurring. And there's so much, which is why there's so much pressure on us right now as well to heal and to like awaken, to grow and become the greatest potential of our individual selves in these lifetimes. And in doing that, what we may not always be aware of is that we are time travelers and timeline travelers and parallel reality travelers all the time. Like we're actively that all the time, every day, with every thought, every feeling, and every choice we make, making decisions that fuels a specific like timeline, a trajectory, and sequential order connection, you could say. It's very linear thinking, but at the same time, like that we could lead ourselves down, and yet also that we're bridging different intelligence aspects of us, consciousness aspects of us throughout the different experiences of parallel realities and lives, and throughout different timelines of this life and of other lifetimes, where we're like sharing knowledge and skills, abilities, wisdom, consciousness, frequency, energy, light codes that informs us of and like feeds into, amalgamifies, like hybridizes, comes together as the form that we form ourselves as every second itself, and then throughout the choices of our day that leads us to like our greater future trajectories of what that could manifest as, what that could like build up and become, show, and like result in more in certain steps and nodal points of connection throughout our lifetime. So this, beyond us ourselves, beyond the collective, into the earth also has her energetic body and consciousness as well, with her physical body like we do. And she has a chakra system, she has nervous system, she has energy system and electrics and the magnetical energies, etherical energies, consciousness moving through her body systems like we do. We have a multidimensional body, different nodal points of connection for energies to move and conglomerate, connect, communicate, share, feedback information with each other, and feed throughout the rest of the whole. And so right now, for a very long time, there has been this temporal war against consciousness because of like how powerful we can be, infinitely, magically, consciously, creatively, creator-wise, how powerful we can be, and for what the earth can be used as, because it's such a precious space of abundant plethora of prosperous resources and energies, and us as humanity sharing that right now. And this is like an incredible, at the same time there's just all this going on, it's like a simulation, it's like a school, living simulation in a school that is like informing and teaching us and growing in soul and spirit to ascend into greater forms of ourselves as the eternal beings that we are, the eternal actual beings that we are. And we're just sharing this human experience right now and then the other life forms. And this goes into then speaking about different grid points of the earth, which is their energy body points, and different points of our consciousness. And inside of that, as well as inside of us, and just as our chakras are, and just as Mother Earth's chakras are, and energy centers are, and just as our nadi points and nervous system connecting points are, and our consciousness itself of what we think and imagine and feel opens up portals of energy and where that flows through time, space, and dimension. So right now there has been a constant, like, as far as galactically, with many different races of being in different dimensions, different density, vibrational, like frequency sets of consciousness of beings that are both physical, some non-physical, that have been trying to like pull the Earth's collective energy and support us on a higher timeline, and some also on the negative side, trying to pull us into a more lower timeline and like bring more of like a negative spin on things, or like a controlling, enslaving spin on things that's already has taken place. But there's those beings are always trying to advance that too. And then we have like beings that are supporting us in our higher timeline of freedom and sovereignty and growth and development, and like real conscious awakening, mastery, and becoming our true avatar, awakened, remembered, active, living, beautiful creators and leaders, and like infinite potential humans to help everybody remember that and change the whole game and like become the sovereign free humanity that we are. And so there's just right now, in the last like few weeks, this is always ongoing. There's constant like interference trying to be pulled in the negative side to like use Mother Earth's portals and open energy systems to different places throughout the galaxies, throughout the cosmos, throughout the universes, throughout the Earth herself, inside the Earth, above the Earth, like on the surface and above in the sky as well, in different dimensions that like connect different realms and aspects of existence and just of life itself. And there's always been this fighting to try to control these zones of energy because they're powerful energy zones that affect us all, affect our minds, affect our consciousness, affect our bodies, affect humanity as a whole, and affect the earth as a whole to be pulled a certain way of like using her energies to for somebody's benefit. It could be for a negative side thing, or it could be from a more positive side where we're more harmoniously working alongside her, Mother Earth, and the sun, the galaxy centers, the galaxy and all the solar systems within and beyond to other galaxies and to further into the multiverses. What I'm speaking there is that just as inside of us, there's a shared connective body, again to say, and that we can connect with and gain insights, knowledge, psychic insight or knowledge, natural things that are a part of us all, and like awareness, and actually like use the natural grid systems, the energy flow line systems of the earth, and her portal systems to astrally and even physically as well, for some of us who can find the correct frequency attunement of embodiment to travel through to different places. And that has been also been used behind the scenes in militaries and in governments and things like that for a long time, and beyond that, and into like specific like mystery schools or cults or like groups of people who knew that stuff, and beyond that, wiping that aside, just like our ancient ancestors, peoples of our families in our past knew about the Earth's grid system, knew about the energy system, knew about the portal systems, and developed like different stone and crystal technologies, as well as used the natural portals and energy grid systems, used the trees, used the natural stones around the waterways, recognizing their connection to different places around the planet and beyond cosmically, that those could lead. And if we meditate and connect with them consciously, we can find ourselves traveling consciously, psychically, or astrally, and sometimes make connections proper, like I said, physically, to actually go somewhere. So there's been a lot of, within the whole spiritual war, temporal time wars, vying for control over these different nodal grid points, these portal points, and these stargates is another word for them. You know, like that old movie and show that depicts that stuff. It's very real. Depicted in very real stuff. That's just one tiny, tiny, tiny little scratching of it, of the whole spectrum of the reality of that, which is actually one reason why there's been a lot of wars in the Middle East, why there's been a lot of wars around different points of the, all of this goes into why there have been different wars for thousands of years throughout different points of the planet, was vying for control over humanity's collective consciousness, whether it be for freedom or sovereignty, or for control and like manipulation and stuff like that on the dark side of stuff, and or gaining control and use of Mother Earth's portal system, her stargate systems, and because it grants somebody abilities and access to certain places universally, galactically, multidimensionally, and affects the like development and growth and trajectory of the timeline potential possibilities of the collective future, you know. So that's why there's been a lot of those wars. That's why there has been all these control, trying to get control, trying to gain access to these. And right now, within the past few weeks or so, there's been shifts where we've seen some sort of like lockdown, kind of like a quarantining of the planet, and not quarantine, okay, that's not the right word, just like a protection field, and like different like ships, like light ships, and multidimensionally set around the planet of our galactic friends and family that have been around to like watch, monitor, to help things go into higher direction, that actually do work alongside some secret space program militaries, you know, in different like parallel timelines of the Space Force and so forth, which is connected with the secret space program, but still it's like own thing. Secret space program is just a big bubble word for all of that kind of stuff. Space Force, one of them, and the connection to a whole lot of other things. But there's been like this like assistance going on that's been helping us to like clear old systems out, old programming out of the collective, old like beings, entities, and other negative aliens that have tried to control certain stargates and portal zones of the earth, energy body zones of the earth, both inside the earth and above on the surface, in the sky, different places around the earth, to gain more of an edge on their negative side stuff. And so there's been a lot of our positive side friends along with us as humanity, including like myself, who does grid work or do energy work. I haven't quite been mega consciously involved with this kind of thing for a little bit, at least not that I'm super aware of, but I have been in the past. And though I hear from others that there has been, like the others have been involved, and I know, I mean, just a lot of us are involved with helping to maintain the integrity of the Earth's energy system, energy grids, and the collective consciousness, and like the timeline trajectory of where we're going. So there's been a lot of that going on the last couple of weeks and few weeks, to where there's like a pull, but there's a cleansing and purifying out of like how like some Stargates portals were attempting to be hijacked, or like were more on like the dark side and letting a lot of dark entities in and things from like other dimensions, other universes even, that are now being cleansed and cleared and like reset in the correct spin ratio, orientation, and frequency set that actually holds a more healthful, vibrant, vital, uplifting, advancing, ascending frequency for the earth and for humanity right now. Yeah, I know this might be a whole lot that I'm talking, and it sounds very vague and just like abstract, but I'm trying to wrap a whole lot of things together really quick, just because I'm leading to this point of like there's been this update of like us clearing out some portal systems and grid networks, and us, I mean, as like both humanity and galactic, our friends and family, are like our different friends and family of around the earth, from different places around the galaxies and the stars systems, and that have been assisting humanity at this time, because they're karmically connected with genetic programs, they're karmically connected with the earth, and then like the genetics that we have inside of us, and like also just because we need all the help we can get at this time, and like those who are connected with us in different lifetimes and different dimensions or different densities of consciousness are also coming, and a lot of us are here in multiple kind of lifetimes, supporting the ascension of the earth, supporting the healing of the earth, supporting the like safety, arising, awakening, and whole unifying of humanity and harmonizing of humanity right now. So lately there's been some shifts in the collective field. There's been some shifts in the Stargates, shifts in the in the Stargate networks, and who has like guardianship or control, negative or light. So guardianship of certain Stargates and network systems, and who doesn't, and like, so that's what we're returning to right now. And with the beings around that have been like in the Earth's atmosphere and around, just like here, ready support with their ships, have been here helping us like reclaim a lot of the grid systems, a lot of the energy systems of the Earth, the portal systems, Stargate systems, and because these not all of them, but some connect, like I said, different planets, different star systems, different galaxies, even different universes, even some just connect different places around the planet. So there's just been a massive array of great support and shift that has been happening, because all of this is focused around the greater shifting of the collective and the consciousness and the humanity as a whole, like the collective consciousness to be like even greater on the higher timeline, to help others heal and awaken that still need certain support in some areas, as we start to clear and heal some things from the collective, and bring us into like a more correct, focused orientation and alignment for our greater future trajectory. That is inevitable and is happening anyway. It is happening. Like, it's not just inevitable based on it just being inevitable itself, but it's inevitable because a lot of us have been putting in this work, doing our inner work, doing our inner healing work, doing our awakening work, our enlightening self work, and activating of our true selves and our soul connection with source work, embodying that and living that and being that in every way, which is like the thing that's starting to tip the scales over to make it inevitable that we're on an even greater and higher, more like coherent, crystalline, pure highest timeline, like a Christos, Christ, Buddha type timeline of many of all of us, like achieving more of that enlightened consciousness as one I'm focused on, as well as like there's a mix still of everybody and everything from different walks of life that are still coming together in a greater positive and a greater, more uplifting and supportive and whole community, enriching, unified collective timeline. So that leads then, yeah, that's where we've been at. And that's what's going on right now. And that leads then to us. What else is within there? There was something else. It'll come back to me as it needs to. But the point is that we're all being even more driven. Energies are amplifying and accelerating. There's been a lot of shift, and there's going to be a lot of shift like throughout the rest of this month and into 2026. Leading up through the beginning of 2026, there's always the same like hump points of reaching to different points throughout the year. And so like probably around April or so, we're going to be experiencing some major big shifts of some kind. There's like certain alignment that's happening astrologically that was the same around as when the Civil War or whatever happened, had that same astrological alignment, which just means that there's like a possibility for changes and shifts, which is probably it's gonna definitely gear more on the positive side, but it doesn't even really matter what it looks like. Everything right now is going to continually support and catalyze and help others to awaken to their greater selves, and to our greatest selves, our greater potentials, and to who truly are together, individually and together. And no matter what it is, it'll be good to help bring more on board, like a changing shift for those who need it, some catalyzing, some good thing that'll happen probably around the springtime of April 2026. But it's going to be happening like now through December and up into the beginning of 2026. It's going to be like a lot of like positive shiftings that like really like heal and bring a soothing balm, and yet like a gentle like uplifting for the collective as we go into the springtime, I think, which will also be that too as a great as more changes occur, however that's going to be. But yeah, and like what I'm seeing too within what I wanted to share within all of this is that within the temporal war, within the spiritual war, within the timeline war, how is it that we like close stargates and portals that are artificial that have been opened? Some of that is a thing too, artificial and open to like bringing in dark entities, dark beings, and dark energetic frequencies and things for good, because we've been cleaning up and clearing a lot of that as a grid working team of people, as beings, as humans on the planet, and multidimensionally other galactic family and friends to support the healing and uplifting growth of humanity and everything. So we've been closing down some portals here and there that have been like allowing in negative frequencies that are not of the greatest support for the it's just like it's more on the negative side of things. So how do we keep them more clearly cleaned out, purified, and closed down for good? Because like oftentimes these things tend to like open up again, it seems like, or like there's others that open up at different other nodal points around the earth, or just somewhere around the earth, or there's still like a lot of ancient portal systems to de-hijack and bring back into our harmonious like resonance and the guardianship of what those sacred portals are, networks are within the greater network. And it's a challenging thing within this spiritual war, temporal war, this timeline war. We literally operate on a quantum full spectrum, like not linear, non-linear, like full past, present, future, conglomerating, mixing, matching, like mixing and connecting different converging points of the past, the present, and the future constantly, and like protecting and clearing and like purifying energies for these different portal system, different gates, stargates and portals of the portal systems around the planet and around the galaxy beyond as well. And it's a challenge because there's sometimes we can clear something. We see this on the individual level too, with people's individual energy bodies and psyches. Then we see that around like homes and things like that as well, where sometimes there may be things that are more permanently cleared. Other times we may clear something like an open portal that lets in like negative frequencies or whatever, or like it's like maybe pulling on your energies and so forth, going someplace, maybe it's going to just other people in your lives you've met and things like that hasn't been completely cleared and shut down and like reclaimed your own sovereign energies. But sometimes we'll find there's things that like pull on energies, and then like we have to clear that, close that, pull back our energies, and like clear and purify the home. But then sometimes things will open up more, which means that then there's a deeper level, like a deeper layer and deeper level of how to actually get to a root of where something started, temporally in a different time, probably in the past. It could actually be in the future too, that it's like stretching over to this time now and how that affects each other quantumly back and forth in a feedback. So it's just like, what we need to do is get to a core and a frequency of how something was hijacked in the first place and go back, because it could be the past, and it more so will be, but it could be a future as well, reaching back to now, where we can stop that initial thing happening anyway and like guard that, clear that, and hold it back so that there's not a reopening of a portal for the negative side and for like pulling the humanity collective this way or that. And the reason that like happens too is because not all of us are on the same page yet, right? Not all of us are on the same page collectively yet still, even though, well, in a deeper core root way, we all kind of are. We're all wanting for peace and harmony and greater health, vibrancy, and vitality, and growth, and freedom and sovereignty of everyone. Actually, so we all are on the same page, but not everybody's actively living and being that and embodying that and holding the frequency set required to like en masse really envelop the whole planet as that, whole of humanity as that. So because of that, there's like different entry points of how people can have like infiltration, like messing with their own psyche, their own energies, their own minds, and therefore like can have that itself, because they're not fully healed, fully cleared, and fully sovereign and free in their own, can like open different nodal points of the grids of the planet to be more like connected in and hijacked or like manipulated to then find the negative frequencies and find their way into like shifting things up again, because the positives or like the more higher timeline or like more whole frequencies aren't as strong yet, and so they can come in and like shift things up and like take control of those zones and then like open up some portal to let in continual negative frequencies or be loosening and harvesting energies and consciousness emotions from people in different places and different zones around the planet. So it's just, that is why, because we're not like fully all there yet and we haven't fully cleared the planet. We're also just in the living journey process, living journey, ascending process of growth and of this prosperous, abundant, living, harmonious, like mastery, higher consciousness developed and embodied, like reality we're all going for. We're still in process of that, so there's constantly back and forth, this and that and that and this happening, so that we can, it actually supports our growth and actually supports our upliftment, actually supports our mastery, actually supports our consciousness awakening into like all darkness and all shadow and all light and everything, all of that, the full spectrum of life and duality and polarity and beyond polarity, coming to a greater point of unifying and loving it all. You know, like we're constantly in this process of seeing all of it, or like growing to become more consciously aware, so that we can become greater stewards and guardians of this planet, greater stewards and guardians of this planet, each other, the collective, all of life beyond this planet in a full, real, mature, intelligent, whole, conscious way. So that's actually really what I want to get to there, but I felt like it was important for me to like preface and speak more into it as a highlighting, at least just a highlighting. There's probably a lot of questions within that for a lot of us. That's okay. Feel free to reach out to me about it. I also make more videos on those things, on those questions, on more subjects like this. And yeah, it's quite a thing, because we're in this beautiful simulation, living reality, living game, both in like, yeah, things of how society runs in the matrix and that, and then outside of that, and just the natural like law of one, natural law of flow of everything, how it really works energetically in a fluid, conscious, flowing way in support of all. We're in this like real living game beyond this planet, not just here on this planet, that is like for the greatest growth and upleveling and gnosis and awareness of source of God itself inside of all of us, as all of us individually and yet collectively, and how we work together as a greater whole for like a greater like evolutionary, uplifting, advancing, shifting, growing, expanding of self. So it's just an interconnectedness and oneness and unity and intelligent conscious awareness of fluidity, flow of consciousness itself, speaking of all that. So it's just like, yeah, there's yeah, it's a lot going on. I just want to give the like start speaking more updates like this of things, and just speaking about it in general. I guess I didn't really give a massive update, just a little bit, and it's also just like me actively putting myself to get back into this and just like be speaking about it in multiple ways. So yeah, and so yeah, I hope that lands well, and I hope that something here can support you. Let me know. Inside of this all too, I do offer sessions, individual sessions right now for healing. It could be counseling, it could be therapy, like a heart counseling and therapy. It could be energetic healing through different modalities I use, like scalar wave toning and just like energy work itself. Like connecting in with the frequencies of energy itself psychically and just moving those and clearing those and just doing that with breath, gentle breath and awareness connection somatically with the body to help us clear and get onto a higher road of our truer selves and to help clear old patterns of belief systems and programs that like are underlying and at root causes of like why we might be looping in time constantly, which just goes on to the collective as well, because there's a lot to heal, a lot to shift from, a lot of beliefs to let go, a lot of programs to let go, which is why we find ourselves looping as well and like constantly like experiencing the same sort of things going year in and year out or a decade or 20 years or more out or a century out of certain things because we have to still like looping patterns and things to clear out, and it's slowly clearing out massively, within the last 100 years especially. But so much has gone on with all that, so I help you with the same individually. Reach out to me if you'd like any consultation or connection about that, and a consultation we can set up for sessions. It can be therapy, it can be counseling, like I said. It can be energy work and healing work. It can be deep inner meditation work. Most of it all like involved inner reflection, introspection, and like meditation, some clearing on some level. And I also do like nervous system and energy meridian activations and like soul and spirit embodiment activations as well. We run those as well. That can be like a whole thing of like clearing out all these old programs and false belief systems and coming into our true selves and living as our greater enlightened versions of being and a unified self throughout parallel lives, parallel timelines and lifetimes. So yeah, timelines and lifetimes. So yeah, that I do have a Patreon up too that I'm getting together to actually schedule more of when we could do things with that. But it's already built and it's readily available. Let me know if you're interested. Otherwise, you can check it out on my bio link on Instagram for now, which is Sovereign Gem Regenesis. And otherwise, here's my YouTube videos. Okay, see you later. Thank you. Love you.